Well, how exciting is this? Cardinal broadcaster Mike Shannon joins us this morning. How are you, Mike?
Well, I'm doing great. Happy New Year to you guys and all your fans out there and listeners.
Hey, we are geared up for the Cardinal Caravan Friday at Lincoln University in Jefferson City. And Mike, we know how much fun the Cardinal Caravan is for fans, but what is it like from a team perspective, you guys associated with the team?
Well, the way I look at it, Kevin, is this is our chance to come into the communities and to the neighborhoods of the fans that really support us all year long, all through the Midwest and all around the country. And this gives us a chance to come into their hometown, into their neighborhood and say, hey, thanks so much for supporting us all through the year and all through the years. And it's really a fun time because we get to come to your ballpark and see what your playing field looks like. It's really a lot of fun. I love it.
I like the way he sees it there, yeah. Well, Mike, you played alongside some of the greatest players in Redbirds history. You were a part of Redbirds history during a great time. How nice was it to spend your whole career as a Cardinal?
Well, it's very unusual, as you might suspect. You know, I always tell people, well, I was never good enough that anybody else wanted me or bad enough that they could get rid of me. And that's an art. I'll tell you what, that takes a lot of ability to keep yourself at that level the entire career. But you know, I was very, very fortunate. I was born and reared here in St. Louis. I attended school here. I went to the University of Missouri, and then I signed with the Cardinals. I played with the Cardinals. I worked in the front office, and now I've been broadcasting for the last 40 or some years. So I've been very, very fortunate to be with such a great organization and such phenomenal people and great fans. And our community here in St. Louis and all through the Midwest, it's the backbone of our country in my mind.
Mike, aside from the money, how has the game changed from the days you played?
Well, the players are bigger. They're in better shape. They have so much more going for them. They're healthier. They're making more money. There's so many pluses to it, you know. But I always ask the players today and the people that I have on my radio show, I say, are you tougher than your grandfather? And I've only had one guy say yes, and I think he was lying. But, you know, these players are so talented. You can't believe how good they are. Don't get me wrong. These players are tremendously talented, and they are in such phenomenal shape, okay? Sometimes I think that they're too healthy, but they are just phenomenal athletes, and they have so much going. They have dietitians with them. They have strength coaches. They have, you know, it's just like anything else in our society. It's been improvement, and that's the way these guys have come along. But they are really talented men.
Well, and I found out something the other day, Mike. I never knew you weren't a half-bad football player either, were you?
Well, I enjoyed football. It was a game that came easy to me, or I should say easier. It came easier than the other sports, and I was fortunate to be recruited by Frank Broyles and go to the University of Missouri and then play freshman ball under Dan Devine and some of the great coaches of all time that the University of Missouri had at that time. When you look back, Frank Broyles and the tremendous career that he's had, and Dan Devine and John Cadillac, and it goes on and on. I mean, there's been some great football at the University of Missouri, and even though I was deprived of playing the 4 years, it was still a great experience for me.
And you got to be thrilled with the success of the Mizzou program now, how well the football program has been in recent years, you know?
Well, it's been a great privilege to be associated with this state. I'm telling you, we've got some great assets in the state of Missouri.
Mike, how did you end up in the broadcast booth? How did that all transpire?
Well, I got sick and I couldn't play anymore, and then I was well enough to go to work in the front office, and they offered me the AAA managing job. Then they offered me the big league coaching job, and I had been sick, and I had my wife with the 5 children, and I just didn't think it was right to take off and go into that tough world of baseball again and put in those hours. So I declined both of those phenomenal offers. And I'm telling you, it was tough to get a job back then in baseball, and I was really fortunate to be asked those jobs. And then about 2 months later, the general manager came to me and said, some people have asked me to feel you out as far as broadcasting is concerned. I said, okay, I'll listen to that. And the lifestyle was much easier as far as family life was concerned. So I said, I'll try it.
Mike, what was the most memorable call you've ever made?
Wow. I think that I always answer that question, Aaron, with probably the one that's going to happen tonight. But there's been some phenomenal calls. Over the years. When Jack and I were together, many times I bowed out. I can remember we were in San Diego when Brock was going to break the stolen base record, and it was my inning, and Jack said, "No, go ahead." But I left the booth. I just thought, out of respect for my partner who'd been there for so many years, I thought that he should have that call. So I just left the booth. He said, no, it's your inning. But I left, okay? And, of course, I had the McGuire home run calls. That was phenomenal. But how about this year with the call for in Game 6? It was phenomenal to see David Freese do what he did. So it continues to go on and on and on.
Oh, we're never going to forget that Game 6. And, Mike, you mentioned Jack Buck, a legend in the broadcast booth. What was it like working with him, and how tough was it that day in 2002 when we lost him?
Well, Jack really broke me in, and I owe a lot to Jack Buck. And, of course, he's one of the great broadcasters of all time. But I've been so fortunate to have some of the most phenomenal partners. And my partner now, in John Rooney, he is one of the great broadcasters of all time. And he'll be recognized as he goes along. But this guy is one of the best broadcasters in the entire business, okay? And I've been able to work with Joel Myers, and the list goes on and on. And Joe Buck, look what Joe Buck has done in his career.
Yeah, he's no slouch.
Well, they talk about Jack Buck, and God bless Jack Buck, and he was a tremendous broadcaster, but, when it comes to talent, Joe Buck might be the most talented person in the business. He's got the two number one jobs in all of broadcasting, and he handles it extremely well, and he's done it at a very young age. And we've got the guys that I get to work with Mike, and the list goes on and on.
Let's talk about this year's team. Do they have the pieces in place to repeat as world champions?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it, Aaron. First of all, you have to stay healthy. But when you look at what the Cardinals have already done, okay, they hired Mike Matheny. He is tremendously respected by the players. He was as a teammate and now as a manager. And then they go out and they get Beltran. This guy, if he stays healthy, he can be, and he goes back to some of his abilities. I mean, he had a better year statistically last year than Albert Pujols and a number of other great players in the game, or it was at least comparable. And then you have our lineup that we have, and now you've got our number one pitcher of 2 years ago coming back, number 50. You're going to love that. Now, they're going to have to tweak it here and there, but definitely, we are definitely set. I would say right now that most of the so-called baseball experts are going to pick the Cardinals to win their division again. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Look at what they did last year. Mm-hmm. They beat who I think was the best team in baseball with the Philadelphia Phillies. Then they went on up to Milwaukee and beat them. And then they beat a great Texas team that went back to the World Series. I'm going to tell you something. Watch out. This is a heck of a Cardinal ball club. Be careful. Yeah. Don't underestimate them. They were underestimated last year, and you see what happened.
As we have been saying, the most improbable season you could think of. We would be remiss, Mike, if we didn't mention this. How much is Albert going to be missed in the clubhouse this year?
Well, there's no doubt that you cannot take a player of Albert's magnitude and replace him, okay? You don't try to do that. That's like trying to replace Stan Musial or any of the great players. You can't replace them. All you have to do is adapt and go on and attack in a different direction. And that's exactly what you're doing. If you're a historian and you look at war, okay, well, war changes all the time. And you have to change your attack. And that's exactly what the Cardinals are going to do, okay? You have to change how you're going to play the game. And I'm looking forward to this spring more than any spring in the past. I mean, we have a new manager. We have all kinds of new things. We've added Beltran. We're without Albert Pujols, who we had for the last 10 or 11 years. There's going to be the most interesting season that you've seen in a long, long time.
Well, I'll just tell you, Mike, on a personal note, you and John Rooney are just a joy to listen to. You guys are fun. You're just fun to listen to on the radio, and that's the way to enjoy Cardinal baseball with Mike Shannon and John Rooney. Aaron, I think I speak for both of us there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hands down.
Well, we thank you for that compliment, and that's what this game is all about. It's enjoyment. This is the entertainment business, and we have fun with it. Sure, these guys are professionals, and they're out there, and they're playing for big bucks and for pride and a lot of things. But, hey, this is fun. You can really have a lot of fun with this game, and I'm looking to have more fun this year than maybe all the years of the past.
Well, Friday is going to be a blast. We'll get to hang out with Mike Shannon, also David Freese and Jaime Garcia, and Cardinals from past and present at the Cardinal Caravan, Lincoln University's Richardson Auditorium. And Mike, such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us this morning, buddy, and we thank you for being here with us.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Kevin and Aaron. Thank you, and thanks to all of our great fans in your area. We're looking forward to it.
Hilley Hart on 94.3 Cat Country and online at 943cat.com.